The chase towards the chase for the Season 7 Hersheys Cup Series Championship continues here as we get ready to go racing under the lights at the Richmond International Raceway. Good evening, everybody, and welcome here as we get ready to cap off this race weekend, coming off the heels of the longest race of the season, the Coca-Cola 600, in which we saw our 9th different race winner in 9 races, that being K Mathews. And as you can see from the playoff grid on the bottom right of your screen, right now 9 of our 16 playoff positions are filled from drivers that have gone to victory lane this season, right now leaving only 7 spots available for drivers to race their way into the playoffs via their positioning in the point standings. Will we add a 10th driver here tonight, or will we see one of our 9 previous race winners maybe get their second win of the season, which would all but lock themselves up a spot in this season's playoffs for the championship? We'll have to wait and see. 60 laps of racing here on tap tonight. We ran 40 in last night's Pizza Deck Series race, and with the aid of pacing laps of 2 early cautions, they were able to make it the full 40 lap scheduled distance without having to come to pit road. Will adding the 20 laps onto tonight's race make this a fuel strategy race? We're going to have to wait and see. Richmond's not a very big track. A lot of people actually consider it a short track, much like Bristol and Richmond. On the front row here tonight, we've got 4-time winner last season, Benny Watson. He's still looking for his first win of the season. Joshua Osborne, the guy who got Rookie of the Year honors last week at Charlotte, but he comes into this race third in the rookie point standings. He lines up on the outside of the front row looking for career win number 2 and first of the season. But you got a lot of drivers up here looking for their first win of the season. Shears there in third, Gallighan in fourth, Lopez in fifth. Let's go get that command.
Drivers, start your engines.
So a lot of drivers with big opportunities here. Cody Smart finished third at the Coke 600 last week, and he's rolling off from the outside of row 6, outside of row 3, I should say. So a lot of momentum on his side. Now we've shown you the playoffs grid, but let's give you your overall top 10 in points coming into tonight's race, presented by Blame Shelley Insurance. New points leader atop the standings after a top 10 run last week. J Baskinger now the new points leader, 11 points in hand over Joseph Srigley. Scott Roush dropped 2 spots from the points lead to third after a disappointing run last week. He is 16 points out and 17 points out in fourth. That is last week's winner, K Mathews. Rest of the top 10, Kyle Keith in fifth, Seth Cole 6th, J Cittadino 7th, 8th Dylan Young 9th, Levi McIntyre after a second place run last week, and Anthony McCrury completes the top 10. So here we go, 60 laps of racing here tonight at Richmond. Who's going to go to victory lane in this one? We're going to find out. Green flags in the air, let's roll. Watson looked a little tight going through the turn 2, and Osborne's going to swing around the outside and take the top position. Osborne, who has 1 career win in his rookie season as a non-charter driver at the road course of Yas Marina Circuit, trying to go to victory lane here. Last year we had, I think it was 4 rookies of 6 go to victory lane. So far this year, none of our 4 rookies have gone to victory lane. Osborne trying to be the first. Watson back to second. Dougie Shears right behind him in third, and then Lopez in the Toyota in fourth, now under fire from Benjamin Miles for that position. Miles being followed by J Arndt and the aid of Chris Dodd. Arndt, former winner this season at Dover. Chris Dodd in his final year in the Hersheys Cup Series. Coming into this race, we have a total of 4 former winners from Richmond that are in this field here tonight. They include J Baskinger. He won here back in Season 1, the very first Richmond race. Dylan Poteet won here in Season 2. K Mathews, who won last week, was the winner here in Season 3. And Dallas McIntosh took the checkered flag here back in Season 5. 2 drivers that are not in the field that are former winners here. Back in Season 4, Charles Jackson, as a non-charter driver, took the checkered flag, driving the number 238, I remember, sponsored by Klondike. And Brooke Allen. Richmond was the first of 3 victories she had last year en route to her championship in the Hersheys Cup Series. Flying Aces Racing flying to the front. Benny Watson in second. Now his teammate right behind him in third, J Arndt. working his way up into the final podium position. Benjamin Miles, following in his tire tracks, will now take 4th away from J Shears, who will fall back into the 5th position. Right now, Joshua Osborne enjoying about a 0.7 of a second lead between himself and 2nd place Benny Watson, who doesn't appear to be quite as fast as the 27. It actually almost looks like his teammate J Arndt might be a little bit faster. Watson, the only one of the Flying Aces racing team that hasn't been to victory lane yet. J Arndt won at Dover, as we mentioned, and J Baskinger won at Kentucky. Watson last year was a 4-time winner, sharing that moniker with Dylan Poteet and Charles Sandfer. Sandfer, 4-time winner in Season 2, Poteet, 4-time winner in Season 4, and that was a very easy pass made by J Arndt on his teammate. He probably could have made that move a little bit earlier. I don't know if the 24 was holding him up or not. So one driver back here that had a great run last week in the Coke 600, and we really didn't talk about him, but I think we kind of should have, to be honest. And that was Zachary Fitzwater, who was running ahead of Johnny Gardner there. Fitzwater finished out in the 8th position. And Fitzwater always seems to be one of those drivers near the second half of the regular season that turns it up. He was struggling the first half of the regular season. Was 26th in the points heading into the Coke 600. Picked up 4 spots, now 22nd in the standings, but looking good right now. And his teammate Johnny Gardner following right behind him as they both pick up a couple of spots against Chris Dodd. Now move Fitzwater to 7th and Gardner into 8th. Battle for 3rd possibly brewing here. We've got a battle. No, it's over. We did have a battle for the lead. J Arndt caught Joshua Osborne and very quickly made the pass. So Arndt to the lead, Osborne back to 2nd. Now this battle for 3rd that I was seeing, it's looking like the 24, as the run progresses, he's starting to fall off just a little bit. J Shears now hounding him for that position. And behind them you've got Miles and Lopez. They're not really in a battle. I think right now they're kind of waiting to see what J Shears does, and if he makes a move, they may follow that Red Bull Chevrolet by for a couple more positions up into the top 5. J Arndt got around Joshua Osborne very quickly, and he is starting to open the gap between himself and 2nd place. 0.7 of a second that last time by. Mentioned the fact that so far we've had 9 races, 9 different race winners. We get to this point of the season, we start to see drivers that had picked up a win at the beginning portion of the season, then able to follow it up with a 2nd or a 3rd win, and that basically locked himself up a spot in the playoffs. Well, J Arndt trying to do just that. He is increasing his gap still back to Osborne. Thing is, though, Osborne is kind of increasing his gap back to 3rd place. So while Joshua Osborne is losing touch with the lead, he's not really in danger of losing the 2nd position right at this point in time. Got some movers here. Johnny Gardner making some passes. He's now up to the 6th position. Chris Dodd, Sean Gallighan making some moves, and here's a move for 3rd. J Shears finally having enough of riding behind the 24. He'll take the 3rd position. Here comes Johnny Gardner, trying to get by Watson. Can't complete the pass this time. Chris Dodd side by side now with Benjamin Miles for 6th place. His teammate not too far back there, T Walch, our Daytona 500 winner in the 15, trying to crack the top 10. This is actually a battle for 10th. Fitzwater has it, Walsh wants it. Seth Cole in the 98, just there in the 12th position as well. Seth Cole moved back into the top 10 in points after last week's Coke 600. Wow, that was 3 different cars, 3 different lanes going into that corner. That was close. Seth Cole's teammate actually not too far back there. There's McCloud, 13th place. McCloud had that great run of 2nd in the All-Star race. Comes into this one currently 21st in points. to get Tweenix Racing their first win of the season. Right behind him, Kyle Keith, 5th in the points. He is the 3rd highest running driver in the point standings without a win, and you can see that right now, based on our playoff points, he would be in the playoffs via where he is positioned in the standings. Too far back here, there's the points leader, J Baskinger, former winner at this track, another former winner in Dallas McIntosh right there, trying to get by 2 teammates of Jessica Shelton and Charles Sandfer. And one driver that really gained a lot of spots in the point standings last week, he's running right now in 22nd, that's Levi McIntyre, gained 11 spots after a runner-up finish last week to Kyle Mathews in the Coke 600. Right behind him is actually the guy that he finished just ahead of, finished 3rd last week, Cody Smart. Smart started this race up inside the top 10, I think. Started 6th, if I recall correctly. Battle going on here. That's for 8th. Fitzwater will make the pass on rookie Lopez. Benjamin Miles follows him as well, so now Lopez falls from 8th back to 10th for the moment. Meanwhile, battle up here. This is for 5th place. Chris Dodd to the inside of Benny Watson, who continues to free fall through the field. So now Chris Dodd cracks the top 5. Johnny Gardner got around Dougie Shears. That was for 3rd place, and these two are starting to slowly reel in. 27 of Joshua Osborne, so that could be a battle for 2nd soon. All going on, though, over 3 seconds, maybe 3.5 seconds behind the current race leader, J Arndt. Now, as J Arndt begins to pull away here and we near the halfway point of this race, 2 questions. Number 1, can these drivers make it the 60 laps on fuel, or will they have to pit? This is not one of the easiest pit entries to get onto. Number 2, J Arndt setting such a blistering pace, will he at some point catch the tail end of the field, and will that slow him up and bring some drivers behind him to his back door? I'm hearing some engines there. I don't know if you heard them. Of drivers that I think were just entering into turn 3. We'll look here when J Arndt crosses the line, see if we can find out where the tail end of the field is. So J Arndt hitting the line now, and there's the field going into turn 1. JT Bryant, Emmanuel Hartnett, and last week's winner, Kyle Mathews, way back here at the tail end of the field. He's a former winner here at Richmond, but Richmond not being kind to him this season. Anthony McCrury, a former winner this year as well. Back here, they are 39th and 40th currently. Hartnett 41st. Bryant, who had a good run last week in the 600, back in 42nd. And I think, yeah, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the rear end of JT Bryant's Ford was in the same shot for a brief moment as the current race leader, J Arndt's. So Osborne, about 4.5 seconds back. We'll have to see if J Arndt does catch the tail end of the field, if that's going to hold him up enough for Osborne to catch back up. Gardner appears to have a pretty good long run car. They're in 3rd, Shears in 4th, and Chris Dodd's car kind of come alive now. He had good qualifying position, kind of faded back, and now has fought his way back up through the field again. Fitzwater hanging there in 6th. Sean Gallighan right there in 7th. Benjamin Miles now in 8th. Good run for a couple of these guys. And then 9th and 10th right now, Jordan Lopez and Tim Walsh. Well, this is a pretty good battle back here. You've also got McCloud, Kyle Keith, Brandon Gonzales, and Daniel Guilbert all fighting to try and get into the top 10. Move back up to the race leader, J Arndt, who has caught the tail end of the field. And he's going to go to work on cars that are not off the pace, just didn't have the benefit either of good handling race car or good starting track position. JT Bryant quickly going to go a lap down. Now going to try and work on a car that gave him quite a handful at Dover, Emmanuel Hartnett. Arndt and Hartnett were the two that battled for the win at the Monster Mile. Hartnett very easily going to get put a lap down, and now RJ Reynolds in his 2nd full-time season about to get lapped. Racing double wide up ahead of the race leader. That's Anthony McCrury trying to get by our All-Star race winner, K Shearer. Last week's winner, Kyle Mathews, next on the hit list for J Arndt. Mathews trying to also get by the 80 and try and remain on the tail end of the lead lap. You know, even despite having to work his way through traffic here, J Arndt's running lap times maybe only about a second slower than his fastest lap of the race, which that's not such a bad pace when you're running in traffic. Okay, that time was much slower. Much slower, about a second and a half slower. And he will lap Kyle Mathews. So Mathews, who's been on a great run of, good streak so far, jumped up after his win last week to 4th in the points. Not the run he was looking for, though he is picking up some spots here. Saw him get by K Shearer, now he's going by Anthony McCrury and Cole Baker for some positions. So while he may not get the best finish, bear in mind he does have a win in the bank. So now for Kyle Mathews, his goal each week is to try and pick up as many spots from his starting position as possible, to accumulate as many points as he can, remain in the top 30 in the point standings. Because remember, Kyle Mathews, the last time he made the playoffs, back when he won the championship back in Season 3. Chris Dollerton, Holly Davis have gone a lap down. Jordan Anderson now going a lap down. Anderson had a great run last week in the 600. I think he finished 12th, and that was with the damaged race car. Next on the hit list, another former winner here at Richmond, D Poteet, our Season 2 winner. And then you got a Ford contingency after that. It's Dylan Young, Daniel Voyles, Joseph Srigley, former points leader this season. And Charles Sandfer's on pit road. Now, the question is this a regularly scheduled stop for the 03? It looks like it is. So it will be a green flag pit stop race. Now, J Arndt has over 6 seconds back to Joshua Osborne, as Cody Lamas there in the 48 hits pit road. So now the question is, can anybody from second on back utilize any kind of pit strategy to maybe get the race win away from J Arndt? And when does J Arndt come to pit road? It's another question. He's staying out. Only 2 cars that I have visibly seen on pit road, Charles Sandfer and Cody Lamas. Fitzwater right there, he came to pit road and he was running up inside of the top 10. So he's one of the first leaders, I think, to hit pit lane. This is a pit road that's got that pit wall there, you can see there. And if a lot of drivers come at the same time, it can make pit road very congested. Shane Lake next on the hit list here for J Arndt, then Trent Dunham. Arndt's going to get to the inside of Shane Lake, continues to stay out. So I think some of these guys went with the strategy of getting the fresh tires with short pitting. Looks like J Arndt's on the strategy of stretching it just as far as he can make it. Goes to the inside of Trent there. I thought for a moment he might be indicating he was going to come to pit road, but no, he's just going to bypass the Sega Dodge and put him down a lap. Next up on the hit list, the winner from Arizona, J Cittadino. And I continue to watch the top left, and even with dealing with traffic, J Arndt continues to gain 2 to 4 tenths a lap on Joshua Osborne, who I believe has now caught traffic, but I'm not certain. Looks like Tim Walsh has been to pit road. There's Osborne, and he's about to get into a battle for second here with J Gardner. Yeah, Fitzwater and Tim Walsh, they've come to pit road already. Those two were running well. So we'll see where they cycle out. There was Fitzwater. Arndt made the pass already on Cittadino, putting him a lap down. Keith Batson and Scott Roush up ahead. Right now it's looking like this is very easily J Arndt's race to lose. He has lapped up to 20th place. 19 cars on the lead lap. And about to be 18 as he'll pass Scott Roush. Maybe about to be 17 as he'll make the move on Keith Batson. Whoa, almost some contact there between J Arndt and Keith Batson as they were practically 3 wide with Scott Roush on the outside. And J Arndt continues to stay out. So we know that the drivers like Sandfer and Lamas, Walsh, Fitzwater all came to pit road a few laps ago, which obviously puts them in their fuel window, but we don't know, as far as the fuel window, just how far these drivers can go before they absolutely have to commit to pit road. Now, this race is looking very similar to our Coke 600 race last week too. I think we had 15 cars finish on the lead lap. Right now, Cody Smart is scored in the 17th position, last car on the lead lap, so we may end up getting more than having less than 15 cars in the lead lap. If J Arndt continues running the way he is, he's going to bypass last week's runner-up Levi McIntyre, now going to go to the inside of Cody Smart. His teammate Benny Watson just ahead. Watson started on the pole. That car just started fading back as the run went on. He's now back to the 15th position. Doubt he'll put up much of a fight against his teammate, and as soon as I say that, he goes down and throws a block on J Arndt. Benny Watson wants to stay on the lead lap. J Arndt wants to get away. And look right there. You see the 59 of Fitzwater? Now remember, he had come to pit road. That car's on fresher tires, and that's why he's making as quick progress as he is there. In the 59 car, he was on pit lane. He's got fresher tires. He's just waiting for these other guys to have to hit pit road. But the question is, do they have to? I mean, 8 laps to go. When J Arndt just hit the line, he might be trying to save to make it to the end. Some of these other guys felt it was going to be a surefire thing that everyone was going to have to pit. But J Arndt, with the big lead he's got, over 11 seconds. We have a new second place driver here actually too, I just realized. J Baskinger. So right now, Flying Aces Racing's 2 previous winners this season are running 1-2. Baskinger moving his way up through the field, the points leader. Johnny Gardner now back to 3rd. Osborne in 4th, and right now Daniel Guilbert would be up in 5th. But that's a long distance between J Arndt and Jake Baskinger though. Arndt continues to stay out, 5 laps to go. He might be saving with 10 seconds in hand back to his teammate Jake Baskinger. But Baskinger's car came alive here in the closing stages for sure. It was looking like it was basically going to be a battle between Johnny Gardner and Joshua Osborne for the runner-up spot, and all of a sudden Baskinger came up and took the runner-up spot from both of them. 4 laps to go as J Arndt hits the line. And you heard right there him get out of the throttle very early into turn 1. That tells me he's coasting it through the corners, trying to save. That last lap he didn't gain anything on Baskinger, stayed about the same distance. So I think he is in major conserve mode, trying to make it to the end. Trying to play mind games maybe with the rest of the field. A lot of drivers thought you couldn't make it, you had to pit, so they went with the short pit strategy, and that may come back to bite them if J Arndt's strategy works. Coming up behind him soon is going to be the 15 of Tim Walsh. He was one of those drivers that hit pit road, so he's going to definitely be on fresher tires and probably be faster than the 05. You can see him closing the distance up quite quickly. I think J Arndt would be smart to just move out of the way and let Walsh by. I think the same can be said for Brandon Gonzales. I think he might have also hit pit road. And that's exactly what J Arndt does. He'll let them by, and he will see the white flag. J Arndt trying to pick up his 2nd win of the season. That car is really slow, but I think he is just trying to milk it home. That car, I think, is still under power, coasts it through turn 3 and 4, and J Arndt with great fuel strategy, is going to win his second race of the season, takes the checkered flag here tonight at Richmond, and he becomes the first multi-win driver for Season 7 of the Hersheys Cup Series. It is his second straight year of going to victory lane at least twice. He was a two-time winner last year, and he's a two-time winner this year. And it's a 1-2 finish for the Flying Aces racing drivers here tonight. But more importantly for J Arndt, that basically locks himself up a spot in this season's playoffs. Big time win for that team. And also a bit of a sigh of relief for drivers that don't have a win yet this season that are running well in points, because that means that only 9 spots still filled with previous race winners. 7 spots right now still open for drivers to get in via points. Standings are official. And J Arndt dominated this race. Absolutely dominated it. After he took the race lead, pulled away, nobody could catch him. J Baskinger tried, but he was 10 seconds back. J Gardner brings it home in 3rd, D Guilbert 4th, and J Osborne faded back to 5th, but for the second straight week, he gets Rookie of the Race. S Gallighan, a great run in 6th. Benjamin Miles, 7th. Chris Dodd, after the hardships of Charlotte last week, gets 8th. J Shears, great run for him there in 9th. And Kyle Keith, the consistent finishes are continuing on for the 29 car as he brings it home in 10th. Then 11th place was Jessica Shelton. 12th for J McCloud. 13th place, Jordan Lopez, and the last car to finish on the lead lap was Seth Cole. So we actually beat last week where we had 15 cars in the lead lap, only 14 cars in the lead lap in this one. Cody Smart brings it home 15th, a lap down. Then it was Levi McIntyre 16th, Scott Roush 17th, Cittadino 18th. Benny Watson started on the pole, but he finishes the lap down 19th, and completing your top 20 was Keith Batson. Gone down through the remainder of the finishing results. K Mathews managed to battle up at least to a 28th place finish, but obviously not the run he was looking for. And a number of drivers that pitted, like Fitzwater and Davis and Walsh, that really hurt them in their finishing results. So not what they were looking for, as they, I guess, assumed you couldn't make it the whole 60 laps without coming to pit road, but J Arndt proved them wrong. But that's going to do it here tonight from Richmond for our Hersheys Cup Series race. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the crew today. We've shown you full finish results. These are your rookie points standings, your overall points heading into next week. We've got only trucks and Hersheys Cup Series action coming for you. Bristol Dirt plays host to the Coors Light Truck Series race, and then it's the endurance race at the home to the Turn of Death at Thornton for the Hersheys Cup Series drivers. You won't want to miss that. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best, and my dogs say goodbye as well.